Hi, I'm David Destro, and today I'm going to be doing my Christmas book haul 2020. Now, Christmas just passed, so Merry Christmas, or Happy Holidays, or Merry whatever you celebrate or don't celebrate. I hope you've had a good December. Got a nice stack for Christmas. I also got a ring light and this pop filter. I swear I'll talk about the books in like 20 seconds. But I want to talk about the ring light really quick. The way I used to light my videos was taking my girlfriend's vanity mirror off of the dresser, and it's this big rectangle mirror with lights around it. I would take that, put it on a chair, put it behind my tripod, and turn that on as high as it would go. And now I have a ring light, so that will make things so much easier. But anyways, we're here to talk about books, so let's talk about the books. Does Daniel Green have a patent on book slaps? Or can anybody just do that? I don't know. First, we have All Systems Red by Martha Wells. This is the first book of the Murderbot Diaries. It is a novella about a very sarcastic and pessimistic robot who basically is self-aware. He destroyed this internal chip put inside him by the government to prevent him from killing people, I'm assuming. And he's destroyed that. So he has free will. And he hates humanity. He's scornful of humanity. And this takes place in the distant future. Being sarcastic and scornful of humanity, I think anybody who's worked in any kind of customer service job can immediately relate to this robot. He's already very human, just from the description of the book. And I've heard so many good things about this, and it's a quick read. I'm really excited to start this one. I've heard some people say they finish it in one sitting because it's a quick read. Definitely looking forward to this one. Next we have Along the Razor's Edge by Rob J. Hayes. Now this, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, is a grimdark novel. So I'm probably gonna like this. It's always hard to say you're gonna like something just because it's a certain genre. I'll try to temper my expectations a bit, but Along the Razor's Edge, it sounds like it almost reminds me of Prince of Thorns in that it's a teenager doing some dark and violent things to survive in a dark and violent world. The story's about a 15-year-old teenage girl who is trapped in a pit that's also a prison, I believe. In order to get out or just survive, I'm assuming she has to outwit and scheme and gain allies and probably do some violent stuff. Just based on the cover and the reviews I've seen, it seems like there's probably a decent amount of action in this one. And it's under 400 pages, so for a fantasy novel, that's good. That's a nice short read. Next up, I have this Baby Yoda bookmark. Can you see it? This one, my girlfriend already said she's gonna steal from me, so I have to hide it in a book, probably. But then she'll find it because of this little thing will be sticking out, so it's gonna get stolen. But it's real nice. It's a real cool bookmark. Next up, I have The Fires of Vengeance by Evan Winter. It's funny because I recently picked up Rage of Dragons and haven't read it yet, but I've heard so many good things that I'm really excited I got this, because I'm pretty confident that I'm gonna like The Rage of Dragons, so I don't feel like I'm jumping the gun by also getting the second book. I will be very shocked. I've heard so many good things about the first book, so I'll be shocked if I end up hating it. If I do, well, that'll suck because I already have the next book. I sure hope it's good. I've heard so many good things. Hopefully I like it. Next up, we have Creating Characters, and this one is by the editors of Writer's Digest. Now, because I'm also a writer, I like books on the craft of writing. This one's about creating characters, basically a complete guide to building characters. Talks about motivations, how to develop an antagonist, a protagonist, supporting cast, how to deal with conflict. There's a lot of good info in here. I used to read bits of this on Scribd, which is a monthly service that you pay and you can read a certain amount of books every month. They say it's unlimited, but then like half the books disappear after you read one or two. I would read this on Scribd from time to time. I would notice it would occasionally disappear, so I'm glad I have a copy of my own now. But I think even if you're not a writer, reading books on the craft of writing and storytelling itself for a reader, I think can offer you more insight to why you may or may not enjoy certain aspects of any given character, protagonist, antagonist, whoever. It could add something to your reading. Just something to think about. That's all. Next book, Writing Voice, also by the editors of Writer's Digest. This one's another book on the craft of writing, about developing your own style as an author, just really discovering your voice and working with it, developing it. I need to read this one more. I can't wait to get into this and find out what I can learn from this. There's a bunch of books on the craft of writing from Writer's Digest, and so every one that I pick up, I feel like I learn so much. I'm excited to dig into this as well. Next up, I have the Movie Critic's Notebook. This is not really a story or anything on the craft of writing, but I do like to watch TV shows and movies, and has an interesting. Let's see, I'll show you. I don't know if you can see that, but it has basically a rating system. You can rate the director, the cast, the screenplay, the cinematography, the special effects and animation, the production design, the musical score, the costume and props, and add some notes. And you can write where you watched it, who you watched it with. It's just could be a fun thing to do for the year of 2021. Fill this from start to finish with different movies, and who knows, maybe it'll help me be better at reviewing stuff, or it'll help me write things better, or anything that really gets me thinking about how a story is told. I'm interested in. That's another one I'm excited for. The next one is Wise as by Gary John Bishop. And this book is really just about various levels of wisdom and strategies for life. I don't really know what to expect. This probably goes in the self-improvement category, which is fine. I occasionally do read stuff like that. I don't know what I'll find in there. Maybe nothing, maybe something good, maybe some gems. Maybe it'll just be good for a laugh. Maybe it has all the wisdom and it will be amazing. I don't know, but I will get to this one at some point. Next up, we have Ninth House by Leigh Bardugo. When I looked this one up on Goodreads, it was under fantasy and urban fantasy and horror. Anything that has fantasy and horror mixed together is just immediately, like I've said a bunch of times, you mix those two genres, I'm going to be into it. And this is about I believe it's a young woman who gets accepted to some prestigious university, and there's some shady stuff happening. I'm assuming some supernatural shady stuff happening. There was a show like that on Netflix recently. I think it was called The Order. That was pretty good. This reminds me of that. And I haven't read this yet, so maybe I'm totally wrong, and it's nothing like that. But it sounds really interesting, and it sounds like it has some horror elements, so I'm looking forward to that as well. Next up, we have The Girl in the Stars by Mark Lawrence. This is one of the books I'm probably most excited for because Mark Lawrence is one of my favorite authors. Probably have to wait until I finish the Book of the Ancestor trilogy. I've already read Red Sister. I need to read Grey Sister and Holy Sister, and then I think there's a novella also attached to that series, and then I can get to this, and I'm looking forward to it. I heard this is probably one of his slowest or weakest first books in a series, but I can't wait to find out for myself. I've heard some mixed things about this. Like I said, he's one of my favorite authors, and I can't wait to jump in myself and really see what this is about. Apparently, it takes place in the same world as the Book of the Ancestor trilogy, and this is another fantasy novel. Now, Mark Lawrence's first trilogy, the Broken Empire trilogy, was, grim dark fantasy, and then he went to Prince of Fools and the Red Queen's War trilogy, and that was still grim darkish, dark fantasy. Same thing with Red Sister and the Book of the Ancestor trilogy. It's kind of a little less grimdark, more into the dark fantasy realm, but I mean, every book series he writes gets further and further away from grimdark and gets closer to more mainstream fantasy. I could be wrong. I could read this and maybe it's the most grimdark thing, but I don't think it is. At least from what I've heard. It's not necessarily a bad thing if he goes towards the mainstream fantasy. It's just something I will be keeping an eye on and just kind of see how he's progressed as a writer. He develops such interesting protagonists that I will be really interested to see what this new character's like. All right, and finally, we have The Way of Kings by Brandon Sanderson. Now this is a thick book. This is like 900 and something, almost 1,000 pages. Everybody this year got to read Rhythm of War and be hyped about it and excited, and there's so many cool discussions going on. I haven't read the Stormlight Archive, so I will finally be reading this year, and I'm looking forward to it. I've heard so many good things about this series that I can't wait to dive in. These books are all hella long. I don't know how fast I'm gonna get through it, and I don't know how many books in the series I'll get through this year. Because I also, this year, I'm going to be reading Malazan, Book of the Fallen, starting off with Guardians of the Moon in January. I will also be reading through the Black Company series by Glenn Cook this year, and I would also like to read the first book in the Wheel of Time series. So 2021 is going to be a year of a lot of thick books, and probably my most ambitious reading year to date. But yeah, this was my Christmas Day book haul. Thank you very much for watching. If you would like to see reviews in the future of these books, maybe you should like and subscribe. Stick around, and I will read these all eventually at some point. Definitely. Until next time, later.